Welcome everyone to the Beacon World League Season 3. Season 3 is about to kick off. I think we're getting used to this by now. It's our third edition of the Beacon World League. We've done the Dual League. We're back to the solo format, giving everybody a little bit of variety. And we still have a very stacked field to compete in this season. Last week we did have the qualifiers. A lot of new faces, a lot of new names stacking up in both Division 1 and Division 2. Really excited to get into the season. I hope everybody else is as well. Alongside me, I do have a couple of gents who are here to run through the initial phase of this podcast with me. So, Patster, welcome. You were there when qualifiers happened. How excited are you for this season?
I'm really looking forward to it. I feel like we got a sneak peek at half the players who are going to be filling out Div 1. There's obviously the unknown factor of the other 9 pre-qualified players. I'm looking forward to seeing them on track. I loved seeing the tracks for the first time, but you get a proper feel for it once you're actually into reverse cup mode.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody who's competed in that format as well in these competitions before. Neil not able to compete this time. A few different priorities and objectives for this season, but looking forward to giving the games a watch.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back on the analyst desk. I love it here rather than playing. So there's a lot of new players, so I'm excited.
A lot less pressure on this side of the track. Speaking about being on track, shall we take a look at those players who did qualify into Division 2 and Division 1 this season for Season 3? As I said, qualifiers did happen just a week ago on that Sunday. Taking a look at Division 1, we have those pre-qualified players who... Is this... we did have those pre-qualified players who maintained their slots in Division 1. As a reminder, 9 of those did maintain their slots, and a further 7 then qualified through those qualifiers. Any of those names that you want to pick out there, Patster? People that maybe you would have seen in the qualifiers who caught your eye, or maybe returning players that you think have a good shot this season?
I think an interesting name from qualifiers was certainly Alex. Not because they qualified first or they perhaps looked the best, but they were so far down the order on TA. They were comfortably kind of middle of Division 2, and then they drove so well in rounds to make up that deficit and to come 4th in the qualifier. I think they're a player who, could surprise a few people.
Yeah, and Alex being our sole Dutch representative as well in Division 1. I know if we're hearing from Boney later on, he'll be keen to keep an eye on his performances this season. Neil, anybody in that list who's caught your eye?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm a fellow North American, South American enjoyer, so seeing my boys up here, Cackney, Noisia, Charles, I'm looking out for them. A lot of big names, and we're finally seeing representation from other regions, so I'm excited to see how this kind of meddles in together and see who really comes out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. And considering generally sort of the feel of this season, looking at players like Cackney and Noisia, those guys who are trying to break into that elite group of Trackmania players, does feel like this season has a bit of a more of an openness to it. The variety that we're seeing generally in TME Sports means that we have a few different names who are here. It's a little bit more open, maybe a few more opportunities for some of those players, like Cackney, like Noisia. What do you think, Neil, looking at sort of their caliber and the field, should be their sort of objective this season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they really had their breakthrough just recently. So looking out on the standings, like I can expect them to fight them at the top. Like, I know Cackney's going to play EPOS today. Like, I know these matches are going to happen, and I think anything can happen in reverse cup mode. If you're not feeling the map in the warm-up, then coming last on every round, you're losing a lot of points. And if that happens to EPOS, let's say, then Cackney takes the lead. Like, it will really come down to who has the best mental pressure going into it. So I think Charles can finish last, Charles can finish first, So we kind of get the vibe of things after the first day of matches, I think.
A lot of players going to be coming for that throne. Of course, EPOS, our 2-time champ, returning to defend his crown. Is he going to be able to? That's a big question as well for this season. If we have a look on Division 2, obviously a clean slate here, brand new names coming into it, and a lot of new names, we should say, for the Beacon World League. Interesting few names here. Panster, anybody who's caught your eye in Division 2?
I mean, based off of qualifiers, I think Andy RC comes in as a heavy favourite. was quite unlucky, I think, to not get a Division 1 spot, was so close to making it in. So, yeah, I would definitely keep an eye on Andy RC to win the whole thing. If I had to pick out another name, Ackle. It's cool to see a new British player coming through. Not a name I've seen that heavily, so yeah, that's my one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And Division Two famously is, provided sort of a lot of those players with a platform to try and build their skill, try and progress into other events, but also potentially into Division One at a latter stage. Neil, you mentioned your NCSA Patriots. Exotica down in Division Two this season.
Yeah, and Exotica, Toto as well. He's actually half American, or he is American. I think he has a citizenship, so we can count 2 here. I'm excited for them. Exotica is a veteran when it comes to Trackmania events. I'm really looking out for Road Tracks here. Recent second place at the Malo LAN. He has that LAN experience. He knows how to handle pressure, so I'm kind of excited to see him in Division 2 and maybe even get that spot into Division 1.
Yeah, it's going to be hard fought. When you look at this stack of players, you can make an argument, I think, for a lot of them. A player like Marancha as well, really, really strong can be when he's got enough practice on these maps. But then also when you look at a player like, Zertok, similar, Whoop is an interesting one, I think. A player who maybe hasn't competed as much in the last year or two at this higher level, but definitely from the looks of it has put in a lot of time into practice for this season. So it's going to be interesting to follow how he gets on this time around. That is Division 2. We've seen Division 1. I think it's time to look at what the battlefield is going to be like for these players. Obviously, 5 new maps, complete new map pack. We saw 3 of them last week during the qualifiers, 2 additions this time around. Guys, I know you might not have had the chance to play these maps, but there has been, quite a bit of reaction, quite a bit of feedback to these. Neil, sort of as a player who's competed in these seasons, or in these sorts of competitions, where do you think this map pack sort of rates in terms of difficulty and maybe, skill-wise? How is it going to challenge these players this season?
Yeah, I think challenge-wise, it's always going to be the hardest. No matter what you could give them straight lines, it's still going to be the hardest because challenge is created by the players themselves, I would say. And at the end of the day, it's like you can practice a map as long as you want, but when that pressure hits during match day, the inputs always change, right? Doesn't matter how much you've trained one turn. Based on these maps, I think they're really nice. They are difficult for sure. Not as difficult as the Duo League maps we saw last season for sure, which I'm actually really glad to see because these are way more like regulable. We're going to see a lot of close fights, but I think they're very difficult maps and perfect for this kind of level of competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of taking maybe a little bit of a step back intentionally, I would say, from the level of difficulty that we saw during the Duo League, but promising potentially a lot of close rounds, a lot of close matches, close fights between all of these players. And Panzer, sort of looking at this map pack and looking at the players there, I do have a question for you relating to EPOS that I did mention earlier. Do you think EPOS is going to defend that title for a 3rd time, or is it going to be a bit more of a challenge this season?
I feel like in a lot of competitions, we've seen a showdown between EPOS and Boz. It happened in Season 1. It has happened in countless BIPLs. It happened in Trackmania Games. In the mixed solo, it ended up with those 2 fighting it out. Given the kind of the congestion of tournaments at the moment, I'm not sure who's going to end up kind of putting in more time, who's going to come out on top. So I never feel sensible betting against EPOS, so I'm not going to. I reckon EPOS will defend this title, but I think if Boz full trains, then Boz could give EPOS a really good run for his money, and there's plenty of other good competitors as well who can have a crack at it.
Would be wise to all keep that in mind as we're going to discover the first few matches. Before we get ahead of ourselves, before we look at Division 1, I think we should have a look at our opening match in Division 2, which is going to be our first match with our Division 2 players. That was going to be on our main stream. We do have Linko, we have Nismo, we have Roadtrax and Whoop. Unfortunately, a little bit of information about this map. Roadtrax has had to pull out of this season, so it is going to be a 3-player match. Unfortunately, not with enough time to be replaced in Division 2. So we are going to have Nismo, Whoop and Linko facing off against each other. Nismo, highest in seeding of the players in this match. Do you think he's a favourite going into this, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, based off the seeding, yeah, for sure. I mean, my whole play on Rotrex into the bin. I thought he was just gone for the match, not the whole season. But there goes my pick for Rotrex. But yeah, I mean, I think Nismo, Whoop, and Linko as well. Like these are all very close players. I think based off seeding, obviously Nismo comes out on top. But I'm gonna go with the keyboard hype, and I'm gonna say that Whoop is gonna take this from them. Everybody, I think Whoop under match pressure. I'm excited to see him play this out.
Yeah, absolutely, Pastor. Is that something that you'd tend to agree with, or do you have a different opinion about this match?
Oh, I'm really gonna struggle to form one. It's so hard to judge it based off kind of round seeding because that's obviously such a consistency heavy format, or to look at like the combined PBs or any other metric until you have the players on track. It's just so hard to pick between them.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be a difficult task when we haven't seen any matches so far. Going to probably get a little bit easier as we do run through the matches. Obviously, Whoop, one of those players that I did highlight. Nismo, one of 3 B2 esports players in this Division 2, going to be trying to prove himself in this match, get some early points on the board, because we've seen in previous seasons how important these first game weeks can be when it comes down to those ever so important positions, trying to get promo relegation, trying to keep your spot at the top of the table. Personally, I do want to back Whoop. And that's purely bias. That is purely just somebody that I really like and I want to see him do well. But I wouldn't count out Linko, actually. She's been getting better and better really as a player in the last few weeks and months. And actually in seeding, she did say it after seeding, she was very proud about how she performed, probably coming into this season with a lot of confidence and a lot of motivation. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out on track as well. We're not going to be far away from getting into our first match now. I believe that pick and ban has been completed already. Just a few minutes now before we do get things underway. As far as I know, the first ban did go to Whoop, who got rid of Arbok, so that map by Mephisto. First pick was from Nismo, who chose Carmine, so the map by Roxy. Flawless by Jordi is going to be our third, and then Milize and Otona Blue will follow. Obviously, 4 maps being played in this reverse cup mode, which I think will be easier to explain once we get over to the casters to see how that's going to play out. Obviously, going to be starting with a total amount of points and then losing points as those rounds go through, as Pat just said earlier, trying to not lose as many points, trying to get those higher positions and finish out the match and be the last person standing. I think this is going to be a really interesting one. It's going to be a close fight, and I think, well, we shouldn't delay it any further. Shall we just send it over to our casters to kick things off for our first match of the Beacon World League Season 3? Randomize, take it away.
We are going into Season 3, and momentarily we will officially start the season with our first match. And I'm really looking forward to this one, Pat, sir. Unfortunately, as they said, that we do lose Rotrax, so it is only going to be 3 people. And one thing to note for anyone that doesn't know Reverse Cup, yes, it's you start with amount of points and you lose the points through the rounds, but every time a player is eliminated, the points that they lose change. So because normally when there's 4 players in the match, if you get first place, you normally don't lose any points and you hang on to them. But now that we have lost a player, everyone is going to be losing points right away. So this could actually change the mood of the match, Padster.
It certainly speeds up the match, I think, when everyone is losing points from the very start. So yeah, it can shift momentum a bit. It'll be interesting to see how it affects players. I don't think many players are used to playing 3-person matches. And yeah, I guess you could argue it probably makes... I'm not sure if it would make mistakes more or less punishing. I need to sit down and have a bit of a think about that because,
yeah,
there's less opportunity for others to make mistakes. And if you come third, you get the highest point loss, whereas normally you'd not get the highest point loss. Obviously, it's interesting to think about the differences of playing kind of 3 versus 4 player Reverse Cup.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. If anything, if I remember, I don't remember the points that they lose per round, but if I remember correctly, you actually lose a little bit less points if you get in last place with 3 people.
Yep.
So although it's going to speed it up a little bit because everyone's going to be losing points, at the same time, it slows down that player in last place. So you're not going to get hurt too much. But because even if you get, like, let's say third place, first place, third place, you still lose points every single round. So it's really going to be that game of, like, how much can you stop the bleeding right away? And it's going to be very important for these folks, especially because of the fact that, you know, again, Rotrek's definitely someone for my vote if he was playing. It's a little unfortunate that he won't be. But, you know, I did play in the last 2v2 Trackmania World Tour with a B2 player, you know, Sebi, my man. So I got a little bit of biasness to root on for the B2s, but at the same time, Linko has been getting so much better. I'm not gonna lie, I was cheering for her during the qualifiers. I was looking forward for her to do some damage, and you know she's here in Div 2. I'm really excited for it. But just so that everyone is also aware, we are currently just getting servers underway, getting everything set up properly. So it should be ready to go momentarily. But you know, Padster, I do want to kind of talk about the other matches that are happening as well. So in the rest of Div 2, you know, we have honestly a pretty wide variation of players. Some names that we have seen in like these bigger worldwide events, and some names that we haven't seen it. I mean, for example, we were talking about Toto earlier from my region and technically also European region. He kind of represents both sides at this point. You know, would you ever imagine someone like Toto? Have you ever seen Toto before, Padster? It's a better question.
I'll be honest, I think I predominantly know Toto's name just from Trackmania games.
Yeah.
As I believe captain or coach or possibly both of the Iceland team. So yeah, there's a lot of names I'm not very familiar with in Division 2, which is always good to see, and it's always exciting to see new talent coming through, especially when I think it's a game that in the past has been largely dominated by a handful of countries. And it feels like that's starting to break down a bit. You got a few more North American players in. You've got a couple of Spanish players in. I don't think that's historically been a very strong region, so that's super cool to see as well.
Yeah, that's Linko.
Yep, Linko, one of those representatives, and ERC the other. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the cool things is the fact that you can say like, oh, it's because other players aren't playing in the event or whatever, but it's like it's one of those where the competition is high no matter what, especially here at Beacon. You can have the best players, the mid-tier players, whatever it is, the competition is always high. And there are still a lot of hard opponents to take on to get to the place that they are. So it's really amazing to see that. And actually, one of the matches has already started. Looks like the servers are starting to work a little bit better for other matches. Jan, Akul, and Mary are already started their match. So we do have some of them going. But let's get into... we have to get into this match momentarily. Sorry, I'm getting notes and I can't read it from here. Okay, I apologize about that. I'm getting notes, but I'm a little bit farther from my screen than normal because I had to shift my broadcast a little bit from yesterday's 12-hour endurance race that I did yesterday. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, that's hard work.
Yeah, I mean
I got no excuse.
Yeah, well, you can blame Trackmania for hours. They're the ones that got me into endurance racing, and then then I got into sim racing, and then I started driving long matches. I get bored of those sprint races. The long ones are the fun ones. But yeah, so currently at the moment, as a quick update, every server is getting kind of restarted due to a fact that a map order bug is happening. Unfortunately, if you ever decide that you want to host Reverse Cup, don't happen. A few years ago, Nadeo made an update, and now somehow the Reverse Cup complex points system, right? Okay, stick with me. Typical Nadeo coding. The complex points, right? The coding on how to get the points to work properly, for some reason, broke the map list script. I know this because I'm the one who runs the duo reverse cup, right? I have that version. And yeah, that's when I discovered that broke. So that was one thing that I was a little worried about when Beacon was starting back up, because somehow it happened because Beacon went duo league. They didn't have to worry about it. But between Beacon Season 2 and America's Masters 1, there was an update that destroyed reverse cup mode. So it works, but you have to finagle with your script and then somehow get the maps into the rotation. So stick with us, folks.
Yeah, I love watching Reverse Cup. I love casting Reverse Cup. I love playing Reverse Cup. I do not enjoy hosting Reverse Cup because being as it is not an official game mode, you get issues like this where things just break and it's incredibly challenging to test for in advance and to find out. So we should, however, be underway.
Yeah, we are finally. We got the traditional Trackmania doo-doo-doo sound, which means we know we're getting out of the pre-lobby and we're going into the lobby. And very excited for this one because the first map is going to be Carmine. And we're going to be looking into the track, the cool videos that we get to see here on Beacon. So with that being said, let's check out Carmine.
For the red lads. Police.
Ladies and gentlemen, all non-binary friends, here we go. Beacon World League Season 3 is now underway, starting here on Carmine. As a reminder, we do only have 3 players on the deck right now, and right off the bat, Whoop is going to be getting up into front, and Nismo is going to be trading back and forth. Carmine was one of the maps we have seen in the past, so this is familiar territory for everyone, as they were playing this in the qualifiers. And Nismo doing a really good job getting up into the front. Linko falling a little bit behind, but not too far in striking distance of Whoop. Whoop doing a really good job around that drift, though. And Nismo still holding the lead as we're getting to the back half of this map. Nothing changing at the moment. Linko going for a little bit of air, so that's going to lose some of her speed. Whoop touches the wall. That's going to put Linko up into second place. And again, this is Reverse Cup. You only have 100 points. It's like 100 HP, and you want to avoid taking as much damage in every single round. Again, Nismo doing a good job being up in front. Linko, though, slowly but surely fighting for that P2, playing in that defensive mode. Whoop is trying to find any moment into the strike. It doesn't matter.
Nismo misses.
It doesn't matter. Nismo misses. Whoop almost sniped Linko. It was a tie, but because, again, Linko was in the checkpoint first, that allowed Linko to hold on to first place. So there is your point difference, -2, -6, and -9. Unfortunately, Nismo, who was holding the front the entire time, Padster, takes the biggest hit.
Yeah, well, we had hoped there'd be close rounds in Beacon. I think would, I wasn't expecting a 0.000 gap in round 1, but there you go. I think Linko showing that consistency coming through, benefited from a mistake with Whoop to be able to catch up on pace, and then Nismo crashing the ending as well. It allows her to take a very important couple of points. I don't think she comes into this match as a favourite. So she just has to be there to pick up any piece that fall her way, and if there are enough mistakes from Whoop and Nismo, then she could definitely end up above third, and that round perfectly showed it. This time, Nismo with a bit of a lead again as we head to this outside dirt. Whoop really pushing it, going to gain a bit of time on Nismo. Linko gains a bit of time as well. Entire field separated by about a 10th of a second now. Nismo falling down to last again. Given that mistake in the last round would be very unfortunate to see 2 third places in a row. Not much track to go now. as we head towards this risky finish. Any mistakes this time? Oh, Nismo manages to get past Linko. Doesn't quite manage to snipe Whoop. But there you have it. What another super close round.
Yeah, it was a close round, and Nismo, again, getting a little bit of that bummer ending. Again, Nismo was holding the lead for most of that, unfortunately falling a little bit behind again, and then taking more damage than he probably would like. And as a reminder for everyone, of course, every position you walk out of each match are points towards the leaderboard in the league. I believe, if I remember correctly, first place is 12, second is 9 points, third is 6, and last is 3 points, excuse me. But you also get a point for having the fastest time in your match per map. So as you can see, Whoop on the top has one little green dot. That means he still has the fastest round for this map so far, and unfortunately Linko ends up touching the wall and flying farther back, so now it's going to be Whoop and Nismo up into the front. Whoop with a little bit of a better outside dirt line, but Nismo was able to make it up towards the end there, so they kind of equal up on speed. Whoop takes an early drift that's going to give him a lot of exit speed coming into this one, closing in onto Nismo, looking to try and take over into P1, but Nismo still better on the inside. Excuse me for my English. It's a little early for me over here in America. Whoa. Went a little wide there, tried to go low, but it wasn't going to be enough. And Nismo finally gets the round he was looking for, and that's going to give him the point for the match record on this map here. So it's going to be very important for them to do this, because again, these are extra points you can get out of. You can literally somehow come in last place in the entire match, but still gain 3 points and do better than third place overall. That is the beauty of this style of league.
Yeah, it really does encourage players to push a little bit further than perhaps they usually would in terms of pace. A reverse cup is, it's a format that tends to encourage consistency, so kind of pulling you in both directions, I think, creates a slightly more interesting environment for the players. So we'll have to see whether on this last round here on Carmine for now, whether anyone is going to beat that 109.6 from Nismo. Currently it is Whoop trying to do so. Nismo has a crash, so isn't going to be improving that time at all. Linko moves up into second. Looks like places are going to be fairly... Oh, and Whoop crashes! Oh, and this is a good opportunity for Linko, but I'm not sure she got a good gear there. It's completely offline. She crashes as well. No one has an interest in winning this round, it would seem. But Nismo has ended up there. It's not going to be a fast time, but it might still be a round win. 1:10.5. About a second off the pace I would have liked, but, a win is a win.
A win is a win, and that pretty much happened as... somehow Nismo had some pretty rough rounds and then kind of gifted it back for the last 2 rounds. So we take those as we are going to be moving on into our next map. I'm looking forward to see how these players are going to react now that we finally got Beacon underway. So this is going to be one of those important moments for them to be able to hang on to this one as we go into Flol. Check it out.
Already cried my tears enough for an ocean. I've been in the cold rain on my parade. I'm still on my feet, stand tall like a mountain. I am undefeated, made for the
And we are underway into round number 1 here on Flow, the map by Jorday. We'll have to see how the players get on here. It's been a fairly tight match so far. Linko a little bit behind. Is going to need to catch up here on this map to try and dig herself out of third place. And for now is into second. Whoop is down in third after a poor start. Players not separated by much at all. Ooh, Whoop clips the inside. That is going to be Verdane out of this round, as Linko and Nismo lead the way. I think Nismo with a bit more pace, but we've seen a few crashes from Nismo before. That's probably Linko's best shot of a win here now. waiting to see if any mistakes occur. These are challenging maps. The barrier's always very tight. We'll have to see if the German can defend. Only a few corners left here on Flo, on round 1. Jumping down towards the risky finish.
Okay.
And they both make it.
I was praying that we didn't just get a curse started for Nismo where he just would crash out over and over again. But thankfully, he gets to the finish line first round and now is currently holding the match record for 2 maps. And this is going to be very important because this could be a very good catapulting moment for Nismo. Again, missing 1 player, you get a little bit of an advantage, but everyone else throughout the league will get this little advantage of missing Rotrex as we go into the second round here. Looking to see if anyone can get a little bit of a better one, and unfortunately, Linko makes a big mistake, crashing into the pole, bouncing off thanks plastic, sending her out of the way now. So Nismo, again, with a nice big lead, Whoop, has been able to do some decent challenges. Ooh, Nismo has a really bad exit there, has to release earlier, so that's going to throw Nismo back farther. And now Whoop, who had a little bit of a mistake last round that threw him into last place, looking a lot cleaner here and trying to finish this one out. Nismo, though, has more speed, catching up to Whoop, right behind him, 0.1 difference at the moment, and he's keeping it even closer. Nicely done by him. Better. Oh, he drops the gear a little later than I think Nismo would like, but no, better line overall. That's why they Nismo unfortunately hits the side, and he's not even going to be able to make that jump. He's going to have to use the what's it called, the standing, oh my god, I'm losing my mind right now, standing checkpoint, and that's going to have him out of there. Sorry about that. But then Linko still able to get across. And again, another thing for anyone that forgets about Reverse Cup is that DNFs hurt a lot. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's a -12. It's the most points you can lose overall.
Yep, it is so important to avoid DNFing in this format. I think that's been an interesting couple of rounds to kick us off here on Flow. I think it's safe to say Nismo probably has the pace, but it's struggling for consistency. And as I say that, I feel like it's showcased immediately as we get to watch Nismo coming through from behind once again. Half second down after an early crash, so it is going to be Linko and Whoop up at the front.
Oh, Linko.
Half second is going to be hard to make up, but that's a clean line from Linko. Makes it briefly up into first, but better second there from Whoop is going to allow Dane back into first place. Pair of them scrapping though, separated by under a tenth for so long now. Linko gets a good drift. Oh, and we're heading towards the back section of the map. Few turns on this plastic. How are they going to navigate it? They're still super close. Whoop with a bit more speed though. Linko on a better line. She is going to hold on for now. She's being hounded by Whoop for this first place. Who's going to get the better drift? It's about even, and if Linko can make it into the finish, she should pick up the round win. Nice. An important round win there.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Very tight round.
That is very important for Linko. Linko currently drifting the farthest away down on points. Going to be able to allow her to sort of survive a little bit longer now, down to 54 points. Nismo and Whoop, 1 point off each other, 64 and 63. So it'll be very important if Linko can try to do something. I've been noticing a small pattern with Linko. Is that pole just seems to be her enemy. That wasn't what I was going for, but...
Yeah, second time in 4 rounds, I think.
Free storylines. That's why we're here. But yeah, no, I've noticed that Linko is, like, her line is just slightly altered to everyone else, and I feel like her speed can get a little bit better. So I'm hoping, this will be a really good time after this match. Linko can use the replays and kind of see the differences that are happening. But, she definitely has the pace. It just needs to be cleaned up, I feel like, while Whoop now is up in front and Nismo looking to chase him. The Whoop has had a little bit of a slower pace compared to everyone else in this match. It's just that he has a cleaner line, a little bit safer lines, I would almost say. Nismo falling even farther back at the moment, so Whoop has all the room to use.
Big crash.
Nismo again touches, but doesn't matter. Unfortunately, Linko is just too far back to take advantage of that. And just like that, Linko went from first to last. And going to be another 9 points off the board.
Yeah, they're the kind of rounds where she really has to make sure that she's there to go and pick up the pieces when others are making a mistake, if she doesn't always have the pace to compete at the front. I think we are still seeing a strong performance from her, though, and I think it's still going to be a really close match heading into this final section. Well, not even final section, we barely passed the halfway mark.
Yeah, we are, in fact.
They've got a while to go.
To the third map, and that is going to be Malise. There we go. Moving on into the third map made by SQLC. Thank you, big ass sign of SQLC's name. But yeah, SQLC infamous for knowing to make very intricate, tight mapping. I love SQLC maps, so I'm not going to complain here. But yes, there's a lot of precision moments and a lot of your turning. So if we thought Jordy's map was a little rough, where people were just bonking and bumping off of things, this is one of those maps that can really start to force you to make sure you are pinpoint accurate on your lines, but also try to push as hard as you can as Linko makes a mistake in the back, clipping. Nismo makes a mistake here, clipping as well. Pinpoint action, as I said, so that's going to put Linko back up into P2, and it's going to be a very important moment as Whoop is having a huge lead, has a little bit of room to safe it out, almost over a whole second for Whoop to run through this one, and there's already some copy pasta happening for Whoop in the chat, so that may be bumping up his morale going into this first round. And it's going to be very important for Whoop to be able to do this if he wants to try and extend his lead away from Nismo, who ends up going into last place. So Nismo, who was doing such a good job dominating the front half of this match, is now slowly falling down, and Whoop will be able to put a match record on his point. So that's going to be one extra point for him. It'll be very important if he can hold on to that. And look at that. We are 10 points away from Linko and Nismo, Padster. Excuse me. 10 points away from everyone, actually. They're all perfectly spread out.
Yep, evenly spread there. I think Whoop is doing a good job of just trying to be consistent. I mean, the pace is strong, as well as we see another mistake from Linko. She's struggled a bit in recent rounds. So it is going to be Whoop versus Nismo up at the front. We thread our way through Malise. This map is just so tight. It's such a spectacle to watch players navigate it cleanly. And Nismo loses a little bit of time to Whoop there. But attempts can easily be made back up on these kind of maps. I think Whoop looking stronger on the dirt section so far, it has to be said. Pushing where that's outside dirt's a little bit further, but does clip the wall there. The speed disappearing from the Dane. And I don't think that gap can be made up. Nismo should be trying to just safe it into the finish at this stage, unless they want to try and push for that match record, which they are not going to get this time, but they do manage to only get a -2, and Linko, the big loser, though. Does just make it into the finish line. That looked sketchy for a second. That did look very sketchy.
That looks very sketchy indeed. And I think what was crazy is that I feel like if the track was literally just one block longer, Whoop had so much speed on Nismo that he could have actually potentially taken that back. But no, Nismo able to kind of clean up his act and be able to do some work. Linko right off the bat makes a mistake. In chat, we are aware that we are losing the overlay of the match record, world records, and all that stuff in the top left. Just hang out, bear with us as we were trying to get that one back up for y'all. But right now, Nismo, who just barely survived in that last round, as Whoop was storming in. Whoop is looking really good here. Doing a good job being up in front here. Looks like Malise is, or Malise, as I should probably say it, is a good map for Whoop. Nismo trying to find any way possible to get back up and close to Whoop. Whoop doing a good job with this outside dirt. That was beautiful. He had so much speed. He almost clipped the outside of that entrance. But still, a little slower there in the grass, but works it out. Actually has a straight line straight out of it. So it works out for him. But Nismo closing in the gap. It's not going to be enough, though, as we were getting close to the end of the track. It's now or never, Nismo. Hit the B to boost. Oh, Linko, where did you come from?
Yeah, Linko really caught up at the end there. I wondered what time she could have driven if it wasn't for that early mistake. That is -2 for Whoop. Doing a good job holding on to points still. Above the halfway mark of the match, well, Linko down to just 21. And there's a very reasonable chance he will find herself heading onto last chance on the next map. Unless she can start picking up a lot of wins. Which, this round, it's a good start for that. Has the best start of any player, as Nismo almost out for the counter at 6 attempts down. That isn't going to get caught up in these lobbies unless someone makes a big mistake, and that is Linko, unfortunately. Has the pace on this map, but hasn't been able to get a clean round together. And it's just such a brutal thing about this game, which is when you start worrying, it gets worse, but that's a mistake from Whoop as well. Ah, big mistake from Whoop. It continues. It gets worse. And now we've got a great scrap of 1.9 seconds off the pace, it would seem. Linko versus Whoop. Somehow, only attempts separated. Does look to be going better for Whoop as Nismo's just gone off into the distance.
We're not even focusing on Nismo anymore.
Yeah.
Man,
there is still a battle between Linko and Whoop. Nismo, nowhere near match record time, just had to safe it through the line.
Yeah, it's not even worth that extra point. It's not. Oh my goodness, what? That was a round. That was a round. Unfortunately, it happened.
A bit chaotic.
A little chaotic. It ended up turning to what could have been a bad round for Linko. Turned into an actual pretty crazy round for Linko. So hopefully she'll be able to bounce back because we are moving on to our final map of the rotation. It's going to be Otana Blue. All right, here we are on Otana Blue by Mime. The hop, skip, and a jump start of the map. Very interesting, unique start, and then a big drift as we come around here. Going to be holding on to that gear 3. Whoop doing a really good job being up in front right away. And don't be fooled, folks. There is hidden water there, so they were a little bit wet from those wet tires as Nismo and Whoop were going to be the two fighting up in front. Unfortunately, it's not looking good for Linko, as in a couple rounds, if she can't clean up her act and get up in front, she could be looking at last chance, and we'll explain how that works when we get there. But Whoop doing a really good job. Whoop looked like either the last 2 maps are his best maps, or the last 2 maps he finally started to wake up. But Nismo will need to try to find his way up into this match, because Nismo was holding the lead majority of the match, and then Whoop just came out of nowhere. Nismo has a little bit more speed coming into this plastic, into the uphill, and to the final moment, Whoop actually goes a little bit wide. He doesn't even have enough speed to go for the risky. Linko was able to snipe and get into that P2 position and save a little bit of her point. She's going down to 6, but it's just enough to kind of hang on a little bit longer.
Yeah, although 6 is a pretty brutal number of points to be on, it has to be said, because it's first or bust now for Linko. And even then, 3 more rounds and she'll be on last chance. Either way, for anyone who's new to Reverse Cup, when they hit 0, they're not out immediately. They then get put on last chance, where if they come last, they're then out. So, they can hold on there for quite some time. And with Whoop out of the count, this is a big opportunity for Nismo to try and extend that lead that has now appeared at the top of the standings. Only 1 point, although Linko is going to make it difficult. Linko doesn't want to go on to last chance quite yet. It's going to hold on for now. Wants that -2 points to keep her in this match a little bit longer. Although that transition down did not go so well. Nismo crashes though, gives it back to Linko. The pair of them trading, I'm not sure I'd say they're trading blows as such, they're trading mistakes.
Yeah.
Perhaps more accurately. But Linko in the lead for now, has about 2 attempts. This finish is not the easiest though. As Linko loses a lot of speed going into our final section. And that is going to put Linko on to the last chance. One final mistake drops it down to 0 exactly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. She ended up doing the risky finish a little bit safer, making sure she had the line, because you do get wet wheels right there at the end. So they try to go for the no slide strat, where you just keep your wheels straight and then fully turn. But there it is, the last chance marker. At this point, Linko must not get last. Linko can just fail the beginning and then
last.
Fortunately be in last place. You never know though, these maps are a little brutal. You know, they're not as hard as past Beacon maps, but they're still pretty hard. And so there's a chance. Copium. A little bit of copium, a little bit of hopium, either biums you can think of. You never know, but yeah, Whoop up back in front. And I'm pretty sure Whoop would like to also get an extra point. That is the one beautiful thing about this version of Reverse Cup that Beacon has mastered. Is a lot of people always say, Reverse Cup is all about just safety and consistency. There's no fun, fast rounds, but those points matter. Those fast rounds matter. You want that match record. So if Whoop can snag that back from Nismo, that'll be huge. And we do have little text of the match record, so Whoop will need to beat a 109.4 to 1 to be able to go into this one, as we are finishing this one up here. Whoop looking to try and finish this one, maybe even snatch the record. It's not enough. So close, and a very close round as Nismo came out of nowhere and pushed for it. And unfortunately, just like that, Padster, Linko is eliminated.
Yeah, I think she played a good match at times. There were plenty of very competitive and very close rounds she drove, but I think just too many mistakes. Yeah. And unfortunately, that final round, not making it through the start, kind of shows the issues she'd been having throughout the match. There'd been another few rounds where she'd struggled with even just the first corner of the map, just having a little clip. So I think she's got plenty of potential to do well this season. And yeah, speaking of clips, Nismo Nismo makes 2, and this is now a bit of a round where Whoop has a free ticket to go and just hunt down that match record of a 109.4.
He can go for it. The question is whether or not he wants to go for it. When you have this big of a gap, and you can try to get that extra point, or you could try to just stay alive and get 12 points and get first place, because Whoop is currently a little bit behind Nismo. So if I was Whoop personally, I think I would save this one out.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'll do in Whoop's situation. I don't know the splits well enough to know if they're pushing, but it has looked fast. There haven't been any clips or mistakes so far, so there is a chance. 109.4, that is time to keep an eye on. Can Whoop beat that? Super close to the end. Is a 109.3. And wow. Well, that answers our question. Whoop was certainly pushing there, not taking a save. Does want that extra match point, and that is super important in the context, because we're not getting back around to this map. There's going to be no second chances. That is just 1 point in the overall Beacon standings picked up. Brilliant round from Whoop there to take advantage of the mistake from Nismo. As we are going to head back to Carmine.
Right onto the top. We're back.
For the red lads. Police.
Well, we are heading in to what could possibly be the final map here. I think it's quite likely we'll get one more. But if one player dominates, then it could be enough. The points repetition is now -4 and -8. So those 21 points, they're going to disappear quickly. As we start on Carmine. This map, I believe, was fairly close between the two of them. Nismo currently holding the match record. That is something that Whoop would certainly love to go after. Try and get another bonus point on the board. We'll have to see. But the map was picked by Nismo. And the pace, well, last time round was very good from Nismo. I'll have to see if we can challenge it. So far, super close until there is a big mistake from Nismo. Opens up the opportunity for Whoop to go and win the round. Is Whoop going to save or is Whoop going to push? This feels a little bit like deja vu from the last round we had on the previous track. Let's see, it doesn't really look that safe to me currently. The time a 1:03.2 to be. Oh, but there's a mistake. There is a clip. Whoop having to go. Oh, and it's all gone wrong there.
This track is cursed. You're just not allowed first round to go for the finish line, and Nismo started the curse. But yeah, that happened. A little smiley face in the chat by them, and yeah, I mean Nismo gets to save his match record for another round, but that puts him down to 17-13. They were tied 21 across the board, so. Math can technically math it out, I believe, if I'm doing it correctly. We could potentially get to a point where we do see the next map for one round. Then again, caster math is a thing, and it's terrible. But I digress. It could potentially happen. Whoop is up in front now. Nismo just constantly back and forth with them, both trying to fight for not only first place, but potentially try and defend. You know, the one thing that Nismo could do is set even a better match record and make it even harder for Whoop to do it in round, but Whoop's still doing a good job being up in front. Whoop gets a better dirt line in the end there. Nismo gets a better dirt line at the beginning, and unfortunately, Nismo gets a better angle at that corner and takes it. And the corner takes him out to dinner, so he's going to be out of this one. So Whoop is all by himself now. And we'll have to see whether or not Whoop will go for the push, try and get that match point, or that match record, excuse me, as we go into the finish.
Oh,
it's 109.372, a much better time. And that's another green dot to Whoop.
Yeah, that has absolutely smacked the previous time out of water there. I think that was a 3/10 improvement compared to Nismo's old time. So Whoop doing a very good job in this last section of the map of picking up these match records, while still keeping himself in contention for the overall win. 9 points apiece, so we are definitely going to see the next map now.
Yep.
The pair of them fairly close at this start. Nismo with a bit of an advantage, but we've seen so many crash from Nismo. And there's another. There is another.
Man.
I don't mean to. I don't enjoy just seeing people crash. But it's how it's gone this time, as Whoop won't even need to worry about trying to, get back the match record. Already has it.
Make it harder.
Could try and improve it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, Bad, you've been more on the production side. We've finally been getting you on the caster side, and you are starting to learn your wizardry powers of the caster curse. And now,
it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, but it's a terrible thing because then you get called out a lot. There's a reason why there's a picture of me last year in Beacon wearing a tinfoil hat. But Whoop is going to close that one out, not being able to beat his own match record, not like he needs it. And yeah, that is going to be 1 point left to Nismo's name.
Yeah, well, I think the caster math here can't go that wrong, it has to be said. Nismo, 1 point. No matter what happens, will be going into last chance. Whoop, 5 points. So if Whoop wins the round, won't be in last chance. So this is a massive round for Nismo, because if Nismo can win this, it's double last chance as they head on to the next map, and that becomes very, very spicy.
Whoop,
Nismo is really going for it this time. Whoop out of contention. Is Nismo going to try and send it for the match record as well? I'm not sure that's the play in this situation. You've got first match on the line. Is Nismo going to think of that through, though?
It'd be a little
We'll have
scary
to
if he
see.
goes for it. It really is scary. I mean, I think Nismo can. He's been on pace in the past to be able to pull that off, but again, I think it's one of those things where you want to kind of more lock Whoop into the last chance as well, so that it is just one final round on a new map. You know, you're both coming into it a little bit more fresh, but Nismo doing some pretty good times. Again, I also don't know the split times as well, unfortunately, but Nismo misses
Misses!
Nismo, not again, Nismo. Oh my god,
Oh,
stop aiming to the left, man.
Nismo!
Oh, Nismo,
You
know,
had it it was in your hands. I think there was a very real chance that could have been match record as well, and instead you might have gifted Whoop the match victory. We'll have to find out as we head on to the next map, which is Flol.
Just production, roll the clip.
Yep.
Already cried my tears enough for an ocean. I've been in the cold rain on my parade. I'm still on my feet, stand tall like a mountain. I am undefeated, made for the
All right, we are either on the final round or the penultimate round. We don't know, but we do know that Nismo is on finalists, and no matter what happens, Whoop will land on finalists next round. So this is going to be very important for Whoop. He gets one extra round. He gets a little bit of that elbow room, and this is going to be very, very difficult for Nismo to be able to keep calm and collected, because this is also Nismo's last match record. That is what this green dot is on the top there. And I don't know. I mean, at this point, Whoop just has to make a really dumb mistake. Whoop can potentially go for the match record now that he's a little bit more warmed up, a little bit more awake. I don't know if I would personally do it. I would almost want to just secure the win, you know, pre-type GG and all, but Nismo is not far away, Padster.
Yeah. I mean, it's only half
Oh,
second.
never
Oh,
mind, never
Nismo
mind.
is fully
It's that
out of
corner.
it.
It's that
Is
corner.
Whoop gonna get it? Absolutely not. Nowhere near the face at that time. 4 tenths per second. But there you have it. Whoop will be walking away with all bar 1 point possible from that match. A very, very successful first day in the office for the Dane, I think.
Man, just the pain I can imagine on Nismo's side from that last round. You know, you can almost see it in the body language of the car. Just it hurt. And then the corners just, again, they took him out to a second dinner, and just that was it. I'm like feeling the pain for Nismo right now. That's why I'm struggling for words. But unfortunately, you know, GG Sim still takes second place overall and gets a map point. So that's going to be a nice 10 points towards the league. But like I said, I'm lost for words. I think we pass it on to the people who do have words. Babs, how was that match for you, buddy? You're muted. You're muted.
That was a match full of surprises. I did learn a few things from that one. I learned that, first of all, randomize can empathize with a virtual car. I did also learn that Nismo needs to stop risking the end on Carmine. Round 1 of the match, we saw it happen. In one of the most important rounds at the end, it happened as well. Neil, do you have any insight into why potentially that, you know, was causing him so many issues?
Neil, you muted.
It's a little surprising to see, honestly. It's your map pick. I think you pick the map you're most comfortable with. I understand he might be a little pressured, but it was like the one map where it's like, oh, this is where Nismo should win the rounds, and it was like the one map at the end that he was failing a lot more. So it was a little weird to see. But I think what might have been the case was he probably saw like the match points being like the fastest times points, the fastest lap points being distributed to Whoop at the end. Like Nismo had three of the fastest times points, the map points, at the end going into the 1v1, and he was left with one. So I think he might have been pressured into trying to push, trying to win some rounds, which I personally think is not the right choice. And I think it got to him in the end.
Yeah, it's definitely a dynamic that you need to be aware of in these matches, and sometimes it can be more of a negative impact than a positive one. Another thing that I did learn from that match is that I can predict results very well just based on my own bias. Whoop did come away with a really good performance. You mentioned that there, Pastor, 3 out of the 4 match records for him. Really, really strong to kick things off. Potentially somebody who could be looking at that Pro Morale bracket.
Yeah, I'd say so. Certainly comparing that performance to where we came in seeding, it's definitely a step up. So yeah, I mean, it's only week 1, has come away with almost full points, just missing 1 match record. I think definitely should be targeting Pro Morale.
Absolutely, and I do want to come back to Nismo, circle back just again. Like, he struggled in that match. He definitely showed that he had the pace, though. What do you think he needs to clean up going into week 2 to have some better performances, pick up a few more points next week, Neil?
Yeah, I think pace-wise, it was insane. I think Nismo had the best pace going into the match. I think maybe the pressure's kind of getting into him. I think crashes were not so bad at the start, but then as we saw the 1v1, like there was 4-second crashes, 3-second crashes, and I think he's trying to push when he doesn't need to. So I think he'll just come back, he'll learn from this, and he'll go, okay, I just need to be a little safer next time around, and I'll do way better and win the match.
I believe we do have an interview that's going to come through from our match winner. Whoop is the person who finished first in that match, taking away a whole load of points for the league table. Whoop joining us on the broadcast here to ask us a few questions. Whoop, that was an intense match. It came down to the wire against Nismo. Really, really close. A few mistakes on his end. How were the nerves on your side?
I'll be honest, they were very bad. I was like, I don't know, it's my first time competing for a while. It's been said, I think, but you have to get back into the groove of things, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it seemed like you got back into the groove quite well. Were you surprised coming away from this match with your first place and so many match records?
Well, I'll say, like, I know my pace is really good on the maps. I don't even think my PBs do my pace justice, so I knew that match records were realistic. But like, the win was down to the wire, right? With Rodrex not here. Like, I was really scared of Rodrex, but I knew it could be close between me and Nismo.
Absolutely, and it was close down to the line. I'll open it up to the floor. Pastor, do you have any questions for our match winner?
There were a couple of close rounds towards the end where, Nismo crashed and you had an opportunity to go for that match record. Was that a kind of conscious decision of I'm going to push for it, or? Yeah.
No, I'm playing hot off the entire round. Like, for example, on Otana Blue, there's a round where I was first place the entire time, so I was like, oh, okay, I can just like full save this. But then it turns out like they were right behind me anyway, and I just lost the round with the crash. But no, I play however I play, and however the round goes, that's how it goes.
And
So
Neil is, sorry, I was just going to say, as somebody who's been in Whoop's position, do you have any advice for him in those sorts of situations?
Yeah, I mean, Whoop, first of all, #1 fan here. Really biased. Glad to see you won. And I think you mentioned you play HUD off. Do you not? I would recommend like you open up your HUD like halfway through the CP or something. Do you not do that at all? Because a lot of crashes in the match where Nismo crashed halfway into the map, like 30 seconds of the map, he's 4 seconds behind. You don't even have to take the risky fin. You have safe fins on the maps. So why not go for them? What's your thought process? Or do you just play HUD off at full time?
It's simply a matter of, like, if I have to push that extra button to turn the HUD off and check for the information, I really easily lose focus. So it would hurt me more than it would benefit me. I've judged.
That's fair.
Everybody has their own methods of dealing with the pressure. Whoop, just looking ahead to next week, you're going to be facing off against Super Karluf, Jan, and Zertox in your first match, and in your second against Jan, Ryuax, and Toto. What's the ambition? What's the expectations for next week?
Well, Carl is scary, right? He's a really experienced player. But I think with more time to really hone in on the consistency on the maps, avoid some of these stupid mistakes, maybe. I think I can do decent. Like winning this one was a confidence boost for sure.
Absolutely. Hoping that you'll be able to carry that into next week. Whoop, congratulations on your win in round 1. Wishing you all the best for next week. We're going to send it to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be back with our first match of Division 1 of the Season 3 in Beacon World League. See you just now.
You tell me you love me, you care, saying you hurt me, have some fun. I give you a smile, hang around for a while, getting it on. And I don't really show it, but you're the only one that breaks my wall.
straight back into the action. We've seen Division 2. Randomize, you're joining us on the desk. I propose that we take a look at those Division 2 standings. We just saw Whoop take his inaugural win in World League against Nismo and Linko. Where does that put him? Well, it puts him straight at the top of our leaderboard with 15 points after week 1, closely followed by Nixotica. A little bit surprised, Randomize?
Nope, I am not. If anything, I'm more surprised that Nix is competing, but I'm not surprised he's able to put up the results that he is. It's just how he is. He's either like, do I feel it? Do I not? Yeah, I guess I'll show up and compete. And here it is. This is the Nixotica I know and love.
Yeah, well, competing is definitely what he's doing. Now, off air, you were telling me, Neil, that you weren't sure who Akul was. I'm guessing that you're surprised to see him in that top 3 after taking a win in his first match.
I am. I've never heard of the name, and now I'll make sure to write it down because he's at the top, and I'll keep my eye on him now. And I know we have one more match left, but it's nice seeing Whoop on the top, Nixotica as well. I mean, 3 match records is really nice, really nice. So I'm excited to see this how this turns out.
Yeah, and followed closely by a barrage of B2 esports players. Nismo, Jan, and Peb in those 4th, 5th, and 6th places. Carl, who was mentioned by Whoop earlier, in 7th, followed by Jan, Linko, Ryuax, Marincha, and Roadtrex down at the bottom. Obviously, one match still to be played later this evening, so we'll have full results at the end of the day. But let's look forward now to our next match, which is going to be in Division 1. It's going to be an interesting, a nice, tasty lineup of players. Definitely one that is going to get quite feisty, I reckon. I think we've got a lot of talent on the plate, a lot of players who can drive very fast. Consistency might be the thing to play for here. Anybody that you want to pick up, Neil, in this lineup of players that you think might have the best opportunity of taking that first place?
I mean, technically, Neil's picked up 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I have played with Richie as a teammate in World Tour and Charles as well as a teammate in NA tournaments. So I've played with them, and obviously Wizzy and Nova are insanely good players. It's so hard to pick a name here. I'm going to have to go with Wizzy here, simply because reverse cut mode is all about consistency, and Wizzy is the most precise, consistent human being I know. So I'm expecting a lot from him here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charles, one of those players that Neil was mentioning at the top of the show, Randomize, who has a lot of potential, came through by winning Division 2 last time around, now in Division 1. He's got a lot to prove at this stage. Do you think he's going to be up to the task?
I think as long as he can keep his mental calm, he should be able to. But I know Charles has been training up the wazoo in multiple competitions, so it's going to be very difficult. But I will have to say personally, though, the upcoming player, Richie. Richie has gone from kind of being pretty good to kind of being known to just constantly taking on big names. I want to be biased and say, like, yeah, Charles is going to take this. He's like one of my best friends. But the caster in me is saying Richie is the player to watch this match.
Definitely a competition that Richie is very fond of as well, likes putting time into these beacon maps, finds that he gets a lot out of it, even if he isn't ending up being the winner or, has consistently been in that Division 1 sort of since Season 1. The other player in that match is Novu, a guy who really performed very, very well in the qualifiers, who we've seen consistently as well at the top of the TA standings, somebody who's got a lot of pace, and it's yet to be seen if he's able to show that in a match scenario against players of this caliber. Let's get straight into the pick and ban for this match. Let's see what maps these players are going to be competing on. Here we are, our 5 maps. The first ban going to be going the way of Richie. Let's see what he takes off the table. Carmine is going to be the one that is removed. Very technical track. Is that surprising to you, Randomize?
A little bit. I feel like maybe it's just one of those things where it's week 1. Let's feel it out. Let's take out, like you said, the more technical map, and let's feel a little bit better. If anything, I'm kind of surprised he didn't take out Melise, but Carmine, still a pretty hard track. And then Flole being picked in by Novu, by Jordan. A good map. We saw it in the past. We've seen it during the qualifiers, so kind of makes sense. If Novu was feeling good on it, might as well rock it out.
Absolutely, and followed closely by Arbok, a map that we didn't get to see in that first match. And I'm really excited to see it, Neil. One that has a very unique sections, typical of Mephisto's style of mapping. Who do you think is going to favor in this match?
Really, I think the idea now is going for pace for Charles, I think. And if Arbok's the one for him, where he can throw the highest pace into it, I think that's a really good map for him. Coming into Malizi now from Wizzy, which is, I think, a very dirt-heavy map. And Wizzy, has that precise dirt inputs. So, I don't know. I think these maps really pick for the player themselves. So, it's going to be really exciting.
Absolutely. I love both of your pronunciations of our map names. Looking forward to hearing them more this season. Randomize, Neil, I need one word predictions. Can you give me who is going to win this next match?
Neil, you go first.
Oh, man. Nobu.
Richie.
Novu and Richie are your two picks. Oh, I kind of want to back Charles. I do want to back Charles, okay? So I think if we go into the match, if we go
Zephyr
over
is saying
to our
Wizzy,
casters,
just to make sure every person was picked. Right, Zephyr? Yeah. Totally. He definitely said something. I swear.
consistency across the boards, but let's not delay things any longer. Let's get over to our casters and let's get this match underway. And it's me again,
Well, hello.
Padster.
Yeah, you're thrown to
Welcome back.
yourself. Well done. That's always a fun thing to have to do as a host. It's like, and presenting myself. That's
Absolutely.
how it goes sometimes.
Now, this is a really exciting match. I think when we were looking at the lineups that we had to potentially have on the main podcast for this week, I think this one narrowly edged out maybe two or maybe all of the other matches. So it's going to be really, really exciting to see. I think what's interesting with this one is all of the different storylines coming with these players too.
For sure, I think it's players who, are here through different routes. I mean, I think 3 pre-qualified from last season, and then 1 new qualifier as well in the form of Novu. So that's going to be someone with a point to prove. I think I'm not sure what each of their expectations are going to be for the season, or their aims or goals, but I think they'll all be aiming quite high.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot is going to be said after this match. I think, it's difficult to give those predictions about who's going to be at the top of the table come the end of the season. I think when we see these performances in these first couple of weeks, it's probably going to tell us a lot more about what these players are aiming for. Because obviously we know they're all extremely skilled. We know that they appreciate these sorts of maps. The time that they put into these tracks and the training that they do is going to have a lot to say. And if they're able to replicate that in matches as well, that's why I'm so excited to see Novu, so excited to see Charles coming up against these players like Wizzy and Richie. Let's get into the match. Let's get into our first map. It is going to be Flawless by Jordan.
Already cried my tears enough for an ocean. I've been in the cold rain on my parade. I'm still on my feet, standing tall like a mountain. I am undefeated, made for the
We are underway with round number 1 of match 1 of the Beacon World League Season 3. This is the first opportunity for players to really show what they can do on these maps. For a lot of players, this is their first time driving the match in official capacity. Or driving the maps even in an official capacity, given that a lot of them pre-seeded here. Charles, Wizzy and Richie competing in the last season. Novu and you face coming through seeding. Currently it is Wizzy and Charles leading the way, with 2 drivers separated by about a 1/10 of a second. It's a strong start for the Brit, but Charles trying to chase him down behind Richie and Novu. Still fairly close, still close enough to pounce should there be a mistake from either of these front runners. We've seen a few mistakes in Division 2 towards the end. I would expect the consistency to be a little higher here, but Wizzy doesn't get a great line through that grass. Charles does sneak in front. It's going to come down to his final drift. And the jump into the risky. I think Charles has this, but that is a close first round. Those 3 players from the last season separated by 2/10 of a second. Quick pace,
look
12.6.
Look at our overlay at the top left. You'll see a string of Colombian flags. Definitely a map where Charles is going to be comfortable on, showing a lot of pace to kick things off. He was closely followed by Wizzy there. Now, he was 4th overall after the TA in this match. So it's going to be interesting to see if that sort of lack of pace is going to translate to maybe, a lack of pace in match, or actually, with consistency pay off a little bit more. For the moment, it hasn't been very consistent for Richie. He does fail just at the beginning there. Novu again falling a little bit behind, just by a few tenths at least, and it's Wizzy and Charles who are leading us into this sort of second third of the map. Wizzy loses a little bit of speed on that NASCAR section, but he's still trailing the Colombian player just ahead of him. Novu still trying to chase them down, but that's a big mistake from Wizzy, straight into the wall, leaving Charles as our only player out at the front.
Yeah, it's certainly Charles' round to lose now, and looking to try and stay on that perfect 100 points with that perfect start. Novu, someone who lost a lot of points last time out, looking to make some gains, but Richie close enough to be a threat, but I think 0.2 probably isn't time to gain that in this last couple of corners, so Charles will hold on to first. Novu second, important result for Novu there. Richie gets third again, and Wizzy, big loser from this round, had been running in second, has been looking fast, but yeah, costly mistake there, dropping him all the way down to last place.
Yeah, and I highlighted how important that consistency is going to be. For the moment, Charles, 0.6, 0.7, takes the first 2 wins, hasn't lost any points so far. Still on that clean 100. Obviously a good map for him. He'd love to come out of this match, or this map, sorry, with that 100 intact. He's able to do it is another question, though. Wizzy, you feel like if he just gets that run together, then he can challenge at the top. Richie, Novu, I think a little bit inconsistent in those first 2 rounds. Going to have to try and clean it up if they want to make their impact on this match. For the moment, all 4 cars are still together. A really, really close race as we head into the NASCAR. A very high pressure section. Novu loses a little bit on the entry. All other 3 drivers still together. And it's Wizzy leading us through again. Does he make that same mistake? No, he keeps it clean this time. Allows Charles to come a little bit closer though. And a little bit closer to the wall as well. He has to full double respawn, unfortunately for him. Novu right behind him as the 2 other players come whizzing past. Wizzy and Richie still in that fight for first place. Richie takes over first place momentarily ahead of the British player. And around this corner, it's going to come down to this last drift. Who's going to be able to carry as much speed out of it as possible? Wizzy gets it pretty good, but it looks like Richie is holding on to that first spot. It's a nice clean entry. It's only going to be 300s at the line. Behind them, Charles does get that 3rd spot. Novu comes home in 4th. After that 2nd place, a 4th place for Novu there, it's going to be quite costly. He needs to stem that bleeding as much as he can if he wants to avoid trailing too early in this match.
Yeah, that gap is already starting to widen more than you'd like for only 3 rounds in. 24 points lost over the course of those first 3 rounds. Wizzy and Richie aren't that far from Novu, it's got to be said, but Charles, that's a massive gap already. Outside of that round, had been having an impeccable start to the match. But, Richie, last round's winner, unable to do anything this round. Early mistake is going to take Frenchman out for the count. Novu loses a little bit of pace, but actually gains it back. Maybe more of an alternative line than any time lost there. Works out well for the Frenchman. So Wizzy, Charles and Novu separated by under half a tenth of a second through that previous split. Wizzy trying to chase, but goes a little too inside. That is going to compromise his line, and he is going to drop probably about 4 tenths behind more than I initially thought. So it is Novu and Charles up at the front, battling tooth and nail. Novu would desperately want to win here. Desperately needs a win to try and keep themselves in this match after a poor start. Are they going to get it? Oh no! That is a new division record and the match record point for Charles. Novu, by 4 thousandths there, potentially losing more than just first place, as Wizzy might not finish.
Yeah, that's going to be a minus 12.
That's minus 12.
Yeah. If you do DNF around, you do get minus 12. It is quite a bit more costly compared to that minus 10. Really not something you want to have in that final round on map 1. Not going to fill Wizzy with much confidence after Flolla. Novu would have loved the win there, but Charles just pipped him at the post after map 1. So really, a really good first map 1 for Charles, has to be said.
Yeah, well, we are going to head into map 2, which is going to be Arbok.
Hey, let's get connected. 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 Let me beat the calm when it get hectic. Let me beat the one knowing you left it. West side, let's get connected. West side, let's get connected. East side, let's get connected. South side, let's get connected. Worldwide, let's get connected. Local side, let's get connected. Online, let's disconnect it. Offline, let's get connected.
We are underway with our first round here on Arbok. For the first time it has been shown on stream here. Did not feature as one of 3 seeding maps. Was banned in the last match, but we get to see it now. Continuing the theme of Pokemon name maps in this competition, thanks to Mephisto. We'll have to see who can navigate their way around Arbok. A tight, twisty track. Very fitting for a snake Pokemon, it has to be said. Charles with an early lead over Wizzy, starting out a bit like the last match. It has the last map, it has to be said. It is not a big lead though for the Colombian, as Wizzy clips. It's going to lose a position there to Novu, who gets through into second. Richie looking to be out of this round. These two now scrapping tooth and nail. Big mistake from Novu. Wizzy crashes as well. Where is that going to leave everyone? Has been full of mistakes this first round we've seen of Arbok. Charles crashes as well. Richie moves into a very, very unlikely third place. Probably a bit confused how he's ended up there, to be perfectly honest, but there you have it. Players perhaps weren't ready for this map, or perhaps all just happened to have a bad round at the same time. So we're going to have to see how they get on this map. Are we going to see some cleaner rounds, or are there going to be more mistakes? I think if you're looking at times as one of the players, you're perhaps realizing consistency is going to be the name of the game here, with the amount of jumps that happen on this track, each of which with a chance to go wrong if you get the landing wrong, if you don't make it, if you go too tight to a wall. So much can go wrong on this track, as everyone showed in that first round. It didn't look like mistakes were happening too early on though, and everyone has kept it clean through this early section. First 20 seconds navigated with only a 1300th gap between the players. In fact, it stays about the same. Wizzy and Novu scrapping up at the front. Wizzy had a good start last time, then fell behind in this next section coming up. It was the corner after here. You do wall ride here. Wizzy doesn't look to get up perfectly, but does make it through. Novu and Wizzy leading for now. Richie into third place. All players super tight, but Novu makes a mistake. Is going to largely hold it together though. This is the opposite of the previous round. All players separated by half a second, and Wizzy makes the big mistake. Having led almost the entire round, it's going to fall behind, and Richie once again finds himself into first place with a far more competitive time this time.
Hi, it's not Babs. It's me. It's Boney. I took over. Finally, my time has come to shine. I didn't want to tell you guys. This was a plan in the making. The heist, honestly. Beacon Tree, you thought you could get away with it, not having a Boney in there. I'm sorry. It's just not going to be the case.
Yeah, in case you can tell from my intense talking in the last round, I was trying to cover for Babs, who I think computer may have crashed. So
yeah, technical issues, right? We're going to have to resolve those. But fortunately, we have the people, we have the power, and we have the players still in driving their way forward. So Charles, unfortunately, having a bit of a touch right there. I mean, he's still doing a phenomenal job at the moment in terms of points 85 and having a grand old time. So Nova, Wizzy, Richie able to maybe make a little bit of an impact. Richie does want to make sure that he doesn't fall too far down towards the fellow players in right now, all one. Making our way towards this turnaround, slowing down, getting that jump. We already saw quite some crashes previously, but this time making our way through. A bit of a, no competition type situation though. Richie not with the drift, gonna have to slow down right before the finish as well, with Novu and Wizzy now making their final stretch around the plastic, skip around the slow-mo, and yeah, not a lot Wizzy could really do about the situation, but Novu's gonna be happy getting that match record.
Yep, that is a nice round for Novu, I think. improves, I think, match record by about 0.3 of a second as well. So a lot more competitive there. Wizzy will be happy to stem the bleeding a little bit, but Novu is his current competition. So I guess in the overall scores, it tightens things up a little bit, but Charles and Richie are still quite separate from Novu and Wizzy with how it has gone so far. Although Richie will be dropping some decent points this round. A super early mistake from the Frenchman there. Trying to catch back up to Charles, though, and gets past Charles. Charles makes the dumb mistake. So Richie not losing all the points. And it is Novu and Wizzy again at the front. And if this trend continues, we could see this match tighten up a lot.
Yeah, it's still a lot to play for. Despite strong start from Charles, he's starting to struggle here. Despite this, being his pick as well, it's not looking as strong as he did. Also, first time seeing Arbok. Very interesting to watch how these players are managing and navigating these slowdowns, particularly in this final part of the track. Novu looking for any and all space to get by Wizzy, may be able to make it happen here on this drift. Gets past him for now, but not as much exit speed. Wizzy going a bit wider, heading to plastic. Once again, reactive boost activated. Here we go, and Wizzy pulling out the boosters. Novu with a little bit of a release and another match record set, and that in the last round of Arbok as well. That is some tight driving there, and the perfect time, honestly, for Wizzy there to sneak in a point.
Yeah, Wizzy absolutely needed that, and that's a great round for the overall match because the players finished it in the exact opposite order of the leaderboard, which tightens everything up quite a lot. So that gap, which was up at 26 points, has come down to 16 points as we head on to Melise.
Here we are, Melise. What a name, I will say. I do like the name. It just rolls off the tongue type deal. We'll see if it rolls as well on the track for these players. Charles, Richie, Wizzy, and Novu making their way through. And already we are seeing a bit of a split between the four players. Richie and Wizzy taking a back seat for Novu and Charles's race right now. And I mean, Charles, from that second map, going from rags to riches, 3 rounds won in map 1, only to now be tied with Richie for first, and starting to look a lot more precarious for the Colombian players. We see Richie actually crashing right before this downhill grass turn, and honestly, right now, it looks like players are still kind of getting acclimated to the track.
Yeah, I think one player who is looking a bit more confident, though, now we've, got a bit further into his match, is Novu. Has been picking up a lot of wins, a lot of second places on that previous map. Just lost the match record at the end, but is going to start off this match very well from the looks of things. On course for another win. And with that big mistake from Richie and Charles only in second, it's still just working to tighten up the match a little bit more and bring Novu more into contention from what looked like a pretty rough start. 24 points gone in 3 rounds at the start of the match to, having only lost pretty much that again in the next, 6 rounds?
About, yeah. It's a bit of a roller coaster in terms of points. I mean, it's one of those, it's hard to see what is necessarily happening. I think we would have to take take a look at eCircuit Mania, look at the graphs and whatnot, and see what's going on, because it is very much up and down, bit of a stock market situation. I don't think you want to be buying or selling at this point with the way these players are playing around with their points, as we have lost Charles at the moment, half second behind Wizzy now, with a bit of a awkward line heading into that downwards dirt turn, but able to recover, stay in 3rd place for the time being. Richie and Novu, a bit of a French fight happening here. A duel at dawn, making their way forward. We'll see which one of the two will be able to get the shot off, as Richie does overtake Novu for the time being, but a lot of grass, a lot of dirt happening right now. Players still trying to find any and all way to straighten out the car, and especially with that no engine reactor that we have seen on not just this track but another track as well, to really challenge our players forward. Both players really making their way through. Nova going a little bit wider, maybe an opportunity for Richie to overtake. No, he does not make it. Hits the finish there as well. Nova with the map record right now, and I'm not sure if without that crash, Richie may have been able to overtake him there.
Potentially, that was super tight at the line. But Novu, it's another win, and is now up into joint second in the match. Charles' lead has almost completely collapsed, as we could see. Another match score that has been brought in, courtesy of our new graphics, as Kakne seems to be dominating his match against. Is that Epos? That is very surprising.
Like with Epos, that is right. Massive gap.
I gotta be honest, I thought Randomize was being a little optimistic about the strength of the NCSA players, but seeing Charles still leading this match, Kakne leading over there, I think I may have been completely wrong there, certainly on this first week of Beacon, as Charles, looking to try and get back in control of this match, is still leading away, still has a 3-point buffer over Novu, but Novu hunting down the Colombian. Actually losing a bit of time there, and Richie now starts to threaten, but not hunting down, was being hunted as Richie gets past at the line, and that does break the tie between them. Novu slips back into third place, but I think can still be happy with this map performance so far, although Charles does get the match record as we head on to fourth round, and it's incredibly unlikely we'll get back to map 3 when we do our second rotation.
We do have 3 players now very close together, right? 10 points in between Charles, Novu, and Richie. Wizzy right now being a little bit, playing spoiler right now, which is, I think, a bit surprising considering his performance in previous Beacon series as well. Also interesting to see on the records that we see Noisia and Charles. I mean, 2 players that at any point you really see the one, you probably see the other as well. NCSA having a grand old time today. Not in this round right now, though, as Charles has fallen behind in 4th place. Once again, a bit of a French affair happening with Richie and Novu potentially able to take that map record. We'll see, though, if it's going to be enough with Richie losing a bit of time heading into that downwards dirt. And Novu getting away with it. Oh, wait, was that a touch? Not quite sure. Even then, recovers it because of the no engine reactor. And Wizzy smells blood in the water, starting to catch up, starting to push to get past Richie. Final turns coming up right now. Get the drift down. Wizzy going a little bit lower, allowing Richie to get past, but another touch from Richie, and Wizzy actually getting second place. Wasn't necessarily looking like his round initially, but I mean, getting a second place out of that, considering the deficit he is at right now, any type of situation where you can reduce the points lost is a good thing.
Yeah, that has not been a pleasant few rounds for Wizzy in particular. I don't feel we've really spoke about him at all on Melise, and I think there's unfortunately a reason for that. We'll have to see whether he can perform any better on the next map, which is A Ton of Blue. Right, we are on map number 4 here. This map by Mime is known to have a pretty dodgy start, as Wizzy unfortunately is the one to prove. Seen a few players get caught out during the Division 2 match we saw previously, and now we see it happen to Wizzy. It was how Linko went out in Division 2, and it could be what drops Wizzy down to the single-digit points. Ahead, which Richie has made a mistake, so it is Novu versus Charles. The 2 players tied for first currently, 44 points apiece. Charles in a slightly better position with 2 match records, it has to be said. But if Novu can pick up a match win, that would be quite a surprise. Charles and Novu separated by about a 10th of a second at this stage, though. The dodgiest section of a track out the way. Now, one thing we did see in seeding was a different line as we head into this ending section. You have this drop down, you have a couple more turns, and then you see some people go inside here, and no one does this time. So no inside lines. Charles will just hold on very tamely, setting a 109.1, a new division record as the match record so far. Although Richie has a world record 6 attempts faster, so yeah, this could be a good match for Richie if he can keep it clean.
Yeah, he needs to show up, right? It's nice to be able to, drive those times, get that practice down, but it is definitely a map where there are a couple of spots where a mistake will cost you dearly. I mean, we've already seen that with the start this time around, everybody making their way through flawlessly. And with the watery wheel sectors as well, it's a bit of a tough one. That's not necessarily the spot where you expect it, though. Very unfortunate touch there from Wizzy. That's looking like to guarantee his last chance is about to happen, as Charles, Novo, and Richie are right now in a fight to make sure they don't lose as many points as they do. Richie, who is in third place, and as you mentioned, right, having that world record, you'd imagine that this is the place where he can perhaps climb up a little bit, allow him to deal a bit of damage to Novu and Charles' scoreline. For now, though, he's a bit sandwiched in between the two, looking for space. Charles, though, unfortunate touch right before that no-grip part, and Wizzy able to whiz on by right at the drop down and just a couple of turns remaining. Nova and Richie, Nova's just too far away for Richie to really do anything about it. It's got to have to hope for maybe a mistake in some way. Don't think it's going to happen. That's a great line from Novu, and with that, the record has been improved by Novu. He gets that point for the time being, but I feel like there's still more. I feel like there's still more for these players to actually get out of it. But for now, Wizzy needs to get everything he gets.
Yeah, it's a good time from Novu, but all eyes have to be on Wizzy, who is going to get an early lifeline, it has to be said. Charles failing the start there. I think this start from Mime is going to become a running feature of the event, potentially, if players can't get it tidied up or can't figure out a consistent, safe line. So Wizzy, honestly, at this stage, personally, doesn't really matter where he finishes, although if he can finish higher up, it does take more points off his competitors. Richie, probably the biggest of those right now, but I would not blame Wizzy if he just decides he wants to try and save this round, just navigate the track, and it's not going very well, it has to be said. Going super safe and still hitting the wall.
I mean, it's 2 respawns from Charles. You would think that would be enough to stay alive, but it is also that it's frustrating to have those crashes when sure, there's one player I'm basically dealing damage to, but you kind of want everyone else to also have to deal with that, to have to deal with those points lost, because you just don't be last. It's easier said than done. This is Division 1 after all, and each and every one of these players is able to just turn it up. Charles with another crash, though. We'll see if he goes for it again, or if he just decides to go for the safe in. He's going to be last regardless, but he decides, you know what, let me just buckle on down, get that risky fin in, and, accept that -10. But for now, Wizzy is safe, and we'll be able to fight another round. And I believe we're already on our 4th round. Yeah, that's right. Here of Ton of Blue. Let's see if he'll be able to make that rotation happen as we get off the start once again, and everyone stays alive.
Stays alive, but Wizzy had a bit of a slow start. Does get a clip as well, so Wizzy, I think, now into a state where has to hope and pray for a mistake from someone ahead if they want to stay in this match. 0.8 of a second. We've seen a lot of mistakes on this map. It's completely possible that Wizzy does survive here, but not if everyone keeps it clean, and not if Wizzy makes any more mistakes. Richie, with a mistake, though, is going to open the door up for the Brit to at least have a sniff of safety. 0.2 between them currently. 1/10 now. Wizzy having to chase the world record holder on a Ton of Blue to try and stay alive in this match. The gap is staying about the same. He hasn't been able to close it as much as he needs. It's a decent drop down, though. There's not much time to gain in this final section, and I don't think Wizzy's going to do it. Wizzy will be going out in 4th place in this match. Perhaps a bit of a surprise for some players to see that Wizzy is such a strong competitor. Perhaps wasn't fully prepared. Perhaps just had a bad day in the office. It does happen sometimes, but losing with Richie still on 18 points, that is not Wizzy's, not a showing that I think he'll be very happy with.
No. It's going to have to hope to keep that map point that he has been able to obtain. But for now, that's going to be last place, unfortunately, for him. And going to have to look on as the rest of the players will make their way on to Flow.
Already cried my tears enough for an ocean. I've been in the cold rain on my parade. I'm still on my feet and tall like a mountain. I am undefeated, made for the
Oh,
Right.
Look at that.
4 turn into 3 as we head on to Flol. 1 player has dropped down. Wizzy picking up last in this match. He will not be too pleased with that result, I'm sure. Does have a match record, though, so we'll have to see whether or not he can hold on to that. Well, he can't do anything about it. We'll see if anyone else manages to take it from him. But Novu didn't have a great showing here on the first rotation. This was very much Charles' map. And based off the start, Charles is still holding on to it. Novu is still close though. Richie a little behind, but still in contention. And that is kind of how the match is overall. Although Charles with a big mistake is going to let Richie through. And 9 points between them in the overall standings. Charles really can't be affording to make mistakes like that on a map where we know he has the pace to win rounds quite consistently and currently has the match record. Can Novu try and take that off him? Yes.
He does.
Yes, he absolutely can. And Novu has gone from being 3rd or even 4th in this match at the start to now looking quite comfortable in 1st with 2 of the match records.
Yeah. This is one of those situations where, sure, a little bit of a slower start, getting used to everyone and the pace that's being put down, and at this point, I think everybody is discovering what lines are being taken where. In general, it does seem like players are still having some troubles with a couple of sections. As this is week 1, I don't think that is very much uncommon thing, but Novu really getting into his own, finding his way through, and able to just keep taking these points off of Charles and Richie. And I mean, sometimes it does come down to a bit of a mistake, so we do see a little bit of a clip happening on Richie's side. But that is also part of competition, right? You got to make sure that regardless of what happens, you are driving your round, you're driving lap, even with a crash or not. As another big crash from Richie, that's most likely gonna be a full respawn with the speed that he was going through there. As Novu and Charles are left in a duel. I mean, it's Novu kind of showing Charles around and showing him, hey, never mind. These are not the maps. I forgot about that speed bump. Oh, why did nobody fill up that pothole? As Charles flies on by, makes it happen in his favor. And Novu suffering the -6 after maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was, counting his blessings a bit too early.
Yeah. It's not gonna, I think, have the biggest impact in the overall scores. I think given Novu's pace for that round, he honestly could have been improving his own MR. But it doesn't happen last time. Gap is still up at 12 points, as we can see in another match.
That is.
A very chaotic match. We have triple last chance with Kakne still leading on, I think, 15 points somehow. Yeah. That is utter chaos happening in that match. But we still have plenty of interesting stuff to come in this one. Although the gaps are getting bigger, there's certainly a chance it'll shrink down this time. Charles far ahead of Novu after Novu makes a small mistake. Allows the Colombian back into 1st. Try and start, trimming down the lead. Richie also chasing Novu. Okay. Richie is no longer chasing Novu. It's been a mistake from Frenchman behind, so we'll focus back on Novu, who I think 6/10 of a second, it's not something that can be caught up at all. Charles just needs to take it nice and safe, get towards the finish line. Let's see what pace Charles is on. That is a 0.8, so yeah, a bit slower pace, but gets that -2. That's what's important, as Richie will now hit last chance.
Yeah, with that last chance as well, right? It's more points available for Novo and Charles in the rankings overall. I mean, that's part of it. Unfortunately, there's no like bounty or what. Maybe that would be a thing, to knock someone out. But there is still that chance to get the map record here last round coming out on Flolole to try to make something happen, as we do see a crash come out from Novo there. And it is Richie being, I think, quite happy about that, because at the end of the day, when it comes to last chance, right? Don't be last. Well, if somebody crashes out, we should be fine. Novo's still relatively close, so he's not completely safe. And I don't know what I am doing. Sure, okay, you know what? I'm gonna blame caster cursing for that, because ain't no way that just happened. All right, what just happened? Look, I'm bad at Trackmania. I feel like at times driving these types of tracks, but even I didn't pull that one.
Yeah. It's,
Ouch.
Nerves and shaky hands can make throws look a bit more close to the kind of things we'd do sometimes. That was one of those unfortunate cases for Richie. Charles looking to win the round, Novu second, and obviously Richie, the big loser, third place, and is going to end up finishing the match there as well. Doesn't even make it into a risky finish, doesn't matter at this point. Not the start of the season I think Richie would have been after, especially after leading the match in the early phases. And Novu and Charles, that gap of I think about 12 to 14 points has come down to less than 5 now. I think it's down to 4 points. So it should be an interesting battle here as we head onto Arbok.
Hey, let's get connected. Connected. Let me beat the calm when it get hectic. Let me beat the one knowing you left it. One side, let's get connected. West side, let's get connected. East side, let's get connected. South side, let's get connected. Worldwide, let's get connected. Local side, let's get connected. Online, let's disconnect it. Offline, let's get connected.
There we are left, taking our way to Snake Way to make this fight happen between Charles and Novu to see which will be able to pick up the full 8 points here for their benefit to their rankings. Or sorry, I should say 12. Apologies. Wizzy in a little bit of danger. I know he is out, and as you were mentioning earlier on, he was in a bit of a precarious situation, but this is the map where he has his map record. As we also see at the bottom right side, that triple last chance that we had. It's only Jaka still standing versus Katne. And not only that, for those who caught it, I already saw a couple of people saying in the chat, Jaka's been in last chance for 3 maps. Like we could say it in round, sure, but the fact that 3 maps last chance, we have seen it happen like once or twice in the past, and yeah, just doing a phenomenal job and just seeing it update now. And on East Circuit Mania, if you're not there, check it out. He just took off more points from Kakne, so that's a tie one. But at the same time, look at the race we have in front of us right now. Charles and Novu in sync, side by side. Charles now with a little bit more of a wider line approach and crashing into the wall. Only thing you can hope for right now is Novu somehow not making the risky happen, but he maneuvers onto the plastic just fine. And Wizzy's map record with that eliminated as well. Novu eating good, 3 map records in total.
Yeah, that'll certainly be a good day at the office for Frenchman. Although, still has the match to win here. Points very simple. Even Caster Math should be able to get us through this one. 4 points for Charles. He is going in to last chance no matter what happens here. And then from there, he will have to win, I think, either way, 2 rounds in a row. So I actually think we've got the rare case where this round doesn't matter so long as Novu doesn't DNF. That's the only weird configuration. I think. So if the players have done the same math we have, which has taken half a round to do, then I actually think they should just be both gunning for match record. That isn't going to be the case. Charles is going to crash. So Charles will... I mean, it doesn't matter. He was on to last chance anyway.
No, exactly.
Novu just driving around the track at this stage, picking up another round win. Even though I don't think it'll make any major difference to the points and how it all adds up, because this is going to leave Novu on 8 points. And with Novu on 8 points, that means a loss next round will put him into last chance. So I think this round probably the least important of the match. The next one, probably the most important.
Yeah. Now it's all to play for. Call it a bit of a weak warm-up round. Call it a way for Novu to simply defend that map record right now with Charles now a last chance. He's going to have to push regardless. There is no saving. There is no, nothing of the sort. Just going to have to push it for all he's got. Try and defend, the reputation of NCSA. They've been having a great day today. And we'll see if he'll be able to, make it an even better one. But he has to beat Novu 2 rounds in a row. It's going to have to happen all on Arbok. So this is the 3rd round. There's really nothing more left after this. And Charles now picking up a lot of speed into that downhill crash. And Novu, what a full crash. A little bit of a wall grind as well. But that is unfortunately not the way you want to be going. Yeah, and there you go. There's the DNF. Charles going to be able to take it easy, maybe get a little bit of the nerves out and allow himself to get a bit ready. Maybe still pushing a little bit for map record, but not quite sure if the pace is there at the moment. We'll keep an eye out as he makes his way around. But yeah, it's all or nothing right now. This is well, never mind. There goes the map record. We're gonna have to see which of the two will do it.
Yeah, perhaps not the finest round win by Charles here, but with Novu DNFing after an even bigger crash, there's no point really doing anything different. And we now head in to the double last chance round. This is going to decide the entire match. About half an hour of gameplay condensed into just over 60 seconds. Novu versus Charles. Charles had a strong start for the match, and Novu a strong middle section. And at the end, they've been fairly tied, trading blows. Who is going to come out on top? It is an early lead for Charles ahead of Novu. If we head into this outside dirt, it looks fairly even for both of them. Novu made a mistake in this section. Coming up here, though, slipped off the edge on the left side here. Seems to take it far further right this time. Perhaps a slightly safe call and a good decision at that as it keeps Novu in the fight with Charles. That is a bit of a gear drop, though, from Novu. Didn't sound great. Not going to affect too heavily, though, as it is on tarmac. Charles gets a bad wallbang, and Novu suddenly propelled up into the lead with a bad wallbang entry for Charles. And that one-time advantage switches directions. Novu and Charles are now almost neck and neck, less than a tenth of a second. The last 2 rounds will be washouts. This one is super close until Charles goes too far wide. And Novu will be your match winner in this week 1 match of Division 1. Picks up 3 match records at the same time. A poor start to the match, completely turned around into an overall victory. What a great match. That was a brilliant final few rounds.
Yeah, it initially looking like Charles was going to be able to somewhat sweep the floor with everyone. Great map 1 start, but at that point, faltering a little bit. Novu getting into the swing of things, 3 map records, and just a great week 1 opening for him. And I think he'll be having a grand old time because of that. But I'm curious to see what our panelists think about that. So yeah, no, Babs, talk us about what just happened.
Well, a lot just happened. A lot happened in that match. A lot of different views, different storylines coming out of that one. Novu didn't start the best, maybe, as Patser alluded to, but definitely finished strong. And it was Novu and Charles, either coming from Division 2 or coming through those open qualifiers, who finished first and second. I mean, we were talking about these guys, how much were they going to be able to bring to the table? Were they going to be able to challenge Richie and Wizzy? They did more than that, Neil.
Yeah, they did, honestly. Well, I will say, I did say Novu. I did say Novu was going to take it all. And he did, so it was good to see. I mean, Charles played really well. really thought when they started with Flol, right? I don't know how to pronounce it again, but Flol, I'm not sure. But Charles played really well on the first rotation, winning 3 of the rounds, I think. And it wasn't even his map pick. And then we went to Arbok and he played really well. He had a great lead. I think it just slowly kind of crumbled as you dwindle down the point. And you're like, oh God, I'll make sure I don't get last chance. And well, that's exactly what happened. I think he crumbled on the last round.
Yeah, absolutely. Charles sort of in those last few rounds maybe had some more opportunities to close out the match himself. Ultimately not able to keep it together randomized. Is that a worrying sign for maybe looking ahead to the rest of the season?
No, I'm not worried at all. I think it was just unfortunately a little bit of a mistake at the end there. I think Charles will be able to kind of clean up his act and come back into it. So, it's just one of those things, and that's the hardest part about Reverse Cup is that you can play consistent all you want, but as your points start to dwindle down, as people getting eliminated, the pressure kicks up a little bit. Charles made a mistake. It was unfortunate. You saw, though, he did, in that last round, he did push. He went a little wide on that drift. It would have been, if he was able to get like a couple pixels over to the left, he would have probably had a lot more exit speed to win that round. But it's just one of those things where, you have, it's one of those, risk or go home kind of thing. And unfortunately, Charles went home this time.
Well, he went home in second place, at least, only behind Novu. So let's look at the results of all of our matches in Division 1. 4 matches obviously happening at the same time. We did see Novu take the win in a match 4 ahead of Charles, Richie and Wizzy. The interesting thing, though, is out of these 4 matches, 3 of the winners came through the open qualifiers. Cackney, Alex and Novu winning their opening matches. Only Bozbez, second last time around, was able to hold his game. Which of these results is the most surprising to you, Neil?
Honestly, I will say the Alex match. Not necessarily for Alex winning. He's a very consistent guy. I think it's just I was expecting a much bigger fight. Alex won by a lot. I was expecting a lot more from Ender, Jan, especially. I know Tween is more focused on other tournaments and stuff, so I can see why he may not have trained. But to see Jan and Ender not being in that fight with Alex was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And he actually came out a convincing winner, holding on to 42 points at the end of that match. The most convincing win that we've seen in any of these matches, considering the level of the players he was up against. Very, very impressive. Cackney beating out Jaka in second place, and Epos, our back-to-back winner, only getting third ahead of Josh. Randomized, I think this sets us up for a very, very interesting season indeed.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the hard parts about having such a lot of big events is you try to figure out which event do you want to focus on and everything. How do you want to go about this one? And you could definitely tell that there are some people who are very focused on Beacon, some are focused on other ones. But I feel like as the season progresses, as people have more time to train these maps, because the nice thing is that every big event that's happening right now are all on the same maps. No training, no learning new maps, probably after this week. At this point, everyone's going to be able to lock and focus more. So I think it's just a bit of a mix of week 1 jitters while also just trying to get, because one of the things, if anyone forgot, Beacon does a thing where they show you 3 maps and then you get 2 more to learn as the season starts. So I can definitely tell there were some not so well trained players on the 2 new maps. That's where we saw a lot of mistakes. I was able to try and catch as many games as I can. So those were the ones I saw the most mistakes in. Now, week 1's over. No more excuses. I think we may see a little bit of flip-flopping going into week 2 and 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Week 1 sets the standard, and week 2 and week 3 is when you need to answer and respond present and correct any mistakes. Somebody actually was up to their old tricks again. Jaka in that match against Cackney, Epos and Josh held on to last chance for 11 rounds in a row. 3 maps in last chance, gets that second place, gets Cackney down to the last chance, but not unfortunately able to take that first place. Let's take a look at what that means for our overall standings in Division 1. After play day 1, Alex and Novu and Cackney and Boz taking first in their respective matches. Boz only taking 2 match record means that he is in that, essentially second place, but he's 4th on the leaderboard because our top 3 are equal for the moment. Really, really interesting to see the mix an array of players that we've got throughout this. Some of our more sort of known names and those players who've performed in the past, more towards the bottom. It's going to be interesting to see if they come back towards the top. Now, Neil, these players, they've impressed in week one. They've had some good results, especially those at the top who have won their matches. How do you think they should go about this to try and keep that consistency, keep performing at that level throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, they have to perform every weekend, and I think they have the motivation, right? They've won their first matches, especially these players that have like qualified into Division 1, and where we see like Alex, Novu, Noja, and like Cackney and stuff, right? Like they're at the top half of the leaderboard. They qualified through. I think they just keep that momentum, right? They keep that training up. The seasoned players, obviously, I know you can make the excuse they haven't trained as much, but it's tournament day. You trained or not trained, it doesn't matter. You have to perform. So I think they just have to keep their momentum up, not worry about, oh, EPOS might train more next week, so I won't win or something like this. Like, I think they just keep that momentum up. They keep going. Alex obviously proved it, winning by 40 points. Bozbez, obviously he's a seasoned player, but Cackney as well, holding his ground till the end. I think just keep your mindset up, keep the mental up, and don't stop training.
Yeah, control the controllables. Trackmania is a game where you can't really influence what other players do. You can only influence what you do. Absolutely some sound advice for any of those players looking to perform. As a reminder as well, our top 8 in Division 1 will be going to those playoffs for a chance to win overall in the Beacon World League. But that is going to be it for week one.
Babs, I do want to point out something really quickly. This was a very interesting start as well, because normally what we see in week 1 and 2 is one player dominating so much that they take all 4 map records. This is the first time in a long time where not everyone took all map records who won their matches. So you saw in the leaderboards, both for Div 1 and Div 2, there were a couple people who did take first place that did not get a map record, or they're under the par of map records right now. So the fact, you said it, right? Round 1, week 1 is usually the one that sets the standards. This is the moment where people could also take advantage of trying to go for those first places and the map records. They really do make a difference. The fact that points are rewarded by a multiple of 3, but if you can take all 4, you can take second place and still fight up into like more of a first place style points wise. So, there's reward for pace over consistency in this format. So that's something I'm personally going to be looking for moving forward, is now that people kind of learn these maps a little bit better, now we know what times people can do. There's a moment where we can start seeing the leaderboard shift around a little bit more, whether or not, someone like Epos will be able to put enough time into the maps, but he may be able to start stealing map points moving forward.
Yeah, especially somebody of that sort of description potentially coming into a match, maybe not necessarily to take the win overall, but just try and disrupt, try and get those match records, those extra little bonus points here and there where you can. Well, their first opportunity to do so has come and gone. Match 1 is done. 4 more game weeks to come. The next being next Sunday, exact same time, exact same place, twitch.tv/beacongg_. We'll be here. We hope you will be as well. Thank you for everybody who joined me today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next week.